Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Kelly Show.
Wow, what a victory. Victory for all of us. You have a border, it's got to be meaningful. And some illegal just can't scam and say, oh, I am under political persecution. Once they say that, up until right now, we had to take them. Letter of the law, we had to take them. You're fleeing political persecution in Mexico, you say? Yes. Well, actually, no, I don't believe you. We don't believe you. Well, we had to take them anyway, actually. If they said they were from Venezuela, sometimes Mexico was on the list, sometimes. Usually, you could just invoke a country. If you said China, you could say, I'm fleeing persecution, political persecution, and then you had to be allowed in the country. You weren't granted citizenship per se, nothing like that right away, but you got a ticket to hang out for the rest of your life, basically. Yeah, we'll see you somewhere in about 5 years. This is major. I kind of actually forgot about some of this stuff. That was such a scam. You know, wait in Mexico, what a great idea. The Supreme Court ruled Thursday that the Trump administration can turn away migrants who show up at the U.S.-Mexico border before they apply for asylum. And that is a huge victory for the White House's immigration crackdown. By the way, a lot of the justices were really mad at each other on this thing. New York Post, the High Court ruled 6-3. 6-3. That's actually pretty significant in favor of a policy known as, they call it metering, like a meter, metric meter, kilometer metering. And President Trump used that in his first term, and actually Barack Obama. And they capped the number of people who could apply for asylum each day. Now, the immigration wackos, you know, who say open the border, they had claimed that aliens should be considered like to have arrived in the United States once they reach the border. And they're saying that the policy violates federal law, stating that migrants can apply for asylum upon entry, regardless of whether they did so legally or illegally, which is crazy, actually. I could have been on the Supreme Court. There's another law that says you got to go to the point of entry. You know, like there are ports of entry. You've seen them. You ever been to the Tijuana, San Diego crossing, or the one between us and Canada? You know, the organized, where they have you come through. You got to show your passport and that kind of thing. They ask you questions. Sam Alito disagreed with all that. He wrote for the majority, in ordinary speech, no one would say that a person arrives in a place, for example, a house, a city, or a country, before the person enters the place. The context in which the phrase arrives in the United States is used in the immigration statutes at issue here supports an ordinary meaning reading. So interesting. Actually, it's kind of talk about threading the needle and looking at this text and figuring out what the words mean and what they don't mean. The Supreme Court, for all of its prestige, sometimes strikes me as a pretty boring job. The administration had argued that the policy was necessary to deal with a massive influx of migrants at the southern border, and that people who were initially turned away could always come back and attempt to apply later. Abigail Jackson, she's a White House person. I've seen her around, actually. This is a tremendous win for the Trump administration. The rule of law and common sense, it really is. I mean, the idea that you could just say anything and get into this country. Now, all three of the liberal justices said this is bad. Sotomayor took the rare step of reading out loud her dissent from the bench. She actually, usually just write these things up and you submit them. You don't read them. Other people read them. You wrote it, right? She also added, just kind of like she riffed a little bit, that the ruling is regrettably and tragically extinguishing the light of the torch of the Statue of Liberty. Oh boy, that's fake news right there. It is fake news right there. There's some poem that somebody put on that damn statue. Oh, I love the Statue of Liberty. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love it. I love it. But the idea that it is some sort of, signal for everybody to come to this country, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what your status, no matter how you're doing it, that is wrong. The French never had that in mind. Somebody put a poem on that thing, on the base, like, not that long ago, like 1930 or something like that. Give me your tired, give me your poor. That came much later. Yeah, this is great. Now, not everybody loves it, of course. The Wall Street Journal, even, man, talk about people who are trying to stick it to Trump. They say that Trump has stripped away humanitarian protections from many migrants. Humanitarian protections. Well, that sounds beautiful. We all like humanitarian protections. No, this is actually, let's protect the humans in America. I like that. I mean, we got to protect us before we protect them. It's really cut and dried. Who saw the speech last night, the great big speech? I thought it was pretty good. He did not mention, President Trump spoke at the opening of the America 250 celebration. That's fantastic. I'm kind of getting into the spirit now. Hopefully you are too. July 4th. A great big super duper parade. Somebody noticed that there isn't one American flag at the Barack Obama Library and Memorial, whatever the hell that thing is, Presidential Center in Chicago. All they have is that great big tombstone looking like thing and no American flags. What does that tell you? Oh, it's revealing in its own way. Let's see here. So President Trump kept it like kind of, for him, it was kind of apolitical almost. He didn't bring up the SAVE Act. He didn't bring up all the crazy socialists who won in New York and other places. He kept it really pro-America. I think he alluded briefly to Iran. And he spoke pretty quick. I don't think I've ever heard him speak this quickly. He was done in about 20 minutes. Cut one, if you don't mind. Cut one.
I want to say a very special thanks to all of the men and women who have helped liberate America from this scourge, the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol. You are heroes. You are heroes. With the help of our law enforcement heroes, in 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded to the lowest level in 125 years. That's the year 1900. We cut the flow of fentanyl across our border by 66%. Drugs coming in by ocean or by sea are down 97%. And Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest, most beautiful cities anywhere in the United States of America.
And the crowd goes wild.
For many years, our country was ruled by politicians who let America and its capital fall into decline and total disrepair. The city named in honor of General George Washington was turned into a national disgrace, but not anymore. Today, the homeless encampments are gone. The graffiti is gone. Since I took office, more than 50 monuments and memorials have been repaired and beautified. Dozens of statues have been cleaned and they look so nice. 22 fountains have been fixed. At Union Station, the statue of Christopher Columbus is clean and fountain. That fountain is flowing and it looks so beautiful. I just looked at it. Coming over, it is so beautiful. That white marble is nice and clean. There's no more graffiti stains all over it. The water is cascading at Meridian Hill Park. And I am personally, along with Doug and some of my friends, renovating Lafayette Square at the front door of the White House, and it's going to be beautiful and opens in a short period of time. And the reflecting pool that you've heard so much about, which is so incredible, it's been gruesomely vandalized by thugs, bad people. But soon will be looking as beautiful as it looked just 2 weeks ago. In fact, I looked at it just a little while ago. It looks perfect already.
Hey, stop for a second.
You
know about this thing, right? They've been vandalizing that beautiful pool. Even the media have been vandalizing that thing. It's I'm going to come back to that in a second. He's frustrated. I'm frustrated. A lot of people are frustrated. He didn't bring it up last night, but the SAVE Act, right? The Save America Act, that whole thing about maybe you should be a citizen before you vote. Maybe you have to establish that before you vote. It's the opposite of what Democrats want, and shockingly, it is the opposite of what some key Republicans want. And we're not going to budge now. He doesn't want to pass anything until that gets passed. I guess you got to stop the filibuster. And they say the Democrats are going to do that anyway. The days of the filibuster coming to an end. So here's Byron Donalds, who's not in the Senate. He's probably going to be the next governor of Florida, although that's not a slam dunk. I thought it was. DeSantis is pulling for another guy. Some former soldier he made the lieutenant governor. Not too familiar with him. I met him once, but I don't know what his deal is. DeSantis he's interesting. He's a little bit different, just kind of on a different frequency. But Byron Donalds gets it. Cut 13, if you don't mind. He's very upset with the U.S. Senate.
Byron Donalds.
Man, the Senate sucks. I'm just going to come out and say it. They suck. This is not hard. 80% of the American people want the Save America Act to pass. Not 80% of Republicans, 80% of the American people. And the only organization that refused to act is the United States Senate. Everybody else is saying, this is common sense. We should do common sense things. Let's make sure only Americans are voting in our elections. Makes sense, right? Let's protect the franchise of the American people. Let's make sure that people who are sent to Washington are being voted on by Americans. Who the American people choose is up to them, but we have a responsibility to secure that franchise and to secure that process for the American people. And what is happening in the U.S. Senate is laziness, and quite frankly, it's disgusting. What? The Senate Democrats don't want to have voter ID in America. Why? Because they want to maintain their power. Senate Republicans don't want to do the right thing and actually have a true filibuster on the floor and debate the matter on the floor, because it would take them away from their precious meetings that they have to conduct. I'm sorry. They have a responsibility to open up the Senate floor and debate this issue in front of the American people. I agree with Chairman Harris 1,000%. I want to hear what Chuck Schumer has to say on the floor in full debate about why he opposes this measure. I want to hear what Elizabeth Warren has to say about why she would oppose this measure. I want her to tell the people of Massachusetts why she believes that the people of Massachusetts should not have to show a photo ID in order to vote in a federal election in the United States of America. Just the other day, President Obama opened up his presidential library in Chicago. You needed an ID to attend the event. So if you're going to show up for President Obama's library, you got to present a voter ID, a photo ID to gain access to that event. But to vote in our elections, you don't have to do that. That makes no sense. It's crazy and it's stupid. And so the United States Senate has a responsibility to open up that floor, use Senate procedure, actually have a debate, have a filibustering debate. If Bernie Sanders wants to hold the floor of the U.S. Senate for 6 months, let him. Go ahead. Swap out the Depends, get some body armor, somebody slip you some whatever you need. Keep it going, because it demonstrates the stupidity of your arguments. And that is what the American people want to see. I, for one, want to see what their argument is. But we're not getting that because, and to be blunt, because we have Republican senators who still believe that the U.S. Senate is operating in 1990 America. That is ridiculous. The Democrats are true radicals. They don't want to negotiate. They don't want to debate. They want to obstruct. They want to obstruct common sense.
Wow. Look, I loved everything you said except the little crack about Depends. Byron, you may need that someday. You may need that someday. You may need... I don't like it. I don't like any joke, quite frankly, any disrespect shown to older people. There are a lot of reasons to not like Bernie Sanders. His age really, I mean, you could also talk about that if you're going to be you're old enough, too old to be president. Sure, you could talk about that. But leave the diaper issue out of it, okay? Thank you. Be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And still wants to help the city. And hey, Jim, how you doing? Welcome back.
Greg Kelly, thank you so much for having me on.
Man, this Mamdani thing is kind of worse than we imagined. I guess it's just it's awful.
It gets more challenging every day, and that election in the last couple of days, I think, really helped a lot of people see what is in store for our city in terms of the DSA takeover. So we're all fighting the fight, and thank you for fighting it as well.
Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, it's my honor too. What the thing that disturbed me the most were the burning buses after the Knicks won and didn't do a damn thing about it, wasn't asked about it, and just seemed like, yeah, it's fun. The Knicks won, It's like a snowball fight, right? No big deal. Well, something that is happening, I understand you want to do something about it. You got these e-bikes flying all over the place. They are a deadly, deadly menace. Not only the e-bikes, by the way, but the regular bikes. Jim Walden, what are you doing? You're very active. You're a lawyer. You like to litigate. What's happening here? What do you got going?
Greg, we filed a lawsuit today. I filed it on behalf of about 8 New Yorkers who are regular pedestrians, a number of whom have been hit by e-bikes, put into the hospital, brain injuries, concussions, as well as elderly and a disabled man, elderly people across the city and a disabled man. Who really have had enough of the lack of enforcement. I mean, remember that in March of last year, when Adams was still mayor, Commissioner Tisch very wisely decided that the civil summonses for the crazy e-bike riders was not enough. I mean, there were e-bikes, as I'm sure you know, literally speeding through pedestrian traffic on sidewalks, blowing through stop signs, blowing through red lights, and driving the wrong way on streets, and the injuries were going up and up and up. So Tisch, she actually wrote an op-ed in the New York Post to announce this, decided that she was going to allow and direct NYPD officers to issue criminal summonses to e-bike riders that were putting pedestrians at risk. And for the better part of the year, that policy was working, and it follows a national trend. I mean, cities all over the country are getting are locking down and cracking down on e-bike violations, given the number of traumatic brain injuries. And then Mamdani comes in March of this year. He hasn't studied the problem. He doesn't understand what is happening. No data, no study, no nothing. He decides that he is going to make it improper for officers to issue criminal summonses to e-bikes. Why? Because he thinks that the delivery food workers are getting a bum rap with too many summonses. Now, we all know e-bikes, they're not registered, right? There's no licenses required. You give someone a civil summons like a traffic ticket, you're never going to see them again. And that's exactly why Tisch changed the policy. So Mamdani, in his infinite wisdom, with no study whatsoever, reverses a policy based on his view of equity. Now, postscript here, who's the number one group of people that get hurt in e-bike collisions? The e-bike drivers themselves. So even though he claimed he was doing this to help the e-bike drivers, they're actually the number one victim of fatalities and brain injuries when these e-bike collisions happen. So we sued to get rid of his policy. He made a big deal about this back in March. He reversed the Tisch policy. Tisch studied this. She has a right to enforce the laws. He has a duty to enforce the laws. And so we went to Staten Island Supreme Court, and we filed the lawsuit today.
And how's that going to pan out? I mean, lawsuits, city gets sued all the time. What would a court ultimately, what do you want them to do? To just order the mayor to do something? Is that what's going on?
No, if they annul the policy, which is what we're asking for, annul the mayor's policy, then it goes back to the NYPD. It doesn't mean that the NYPD has to issue a criminal summons, but it removes the obstacle to them issuing a criminal summons in their professional judgment. And listen, our lead plaintiff is City Council Frank Morano. There are important people in the city that are taking this very seriously. Councilmember Morano, Councilmember Palladino, former Councilmember Bob Holden, working with them all on this lawsuit. So there are important voices. The Electric Vehicle Safety Association is behind the suit as well as the group that I'm the chairman of, NYC Common Sense. So, like I said, this is people across the city saying, "Listen, Mr. Mayor, no disrespect intended, but you can't throw public safety out the window just because you feel bad for food delivery drivers." Public policy doesn't work that way.
Well, right now the guy seems to think he can do anything. I mean, look at some of these maniacs he's getting elected to Congress. This is Chevalier, whatever her name is, hates everybody. Listen to this. Cut 11, please. Cut 11.
The Joe Biden one, you did say you called him a rapist. Is that the kind of thing that just because you're sort of a digital native and that you do on the internet, or did you believe that, and do you believe that?
I think there was a lot of misunderstandings around where my posts, why they were deleted. I deleted my account many years back because I was focused on returning to organizing and my studies. I was working on a PhD program. And I think often we are asked to
skip that. Actually, that's the one. That's really probably the most mild thing. Hey, Chevalier, knock it off. I'm going to play you one more, Jim. Listen to this one. Cut 9.
What's your response to that? The DSA has a reputation of focusing too much on class and maybe downplaying race.
Yeah, I came to my politics of socialism, democratic socialism, through a race lens, right? I was doing a lot of reading of the Black radical tradition. I was doing a lot of organizing around mass incarceration.
She goes on and on and on. She hates prisons, seems to hate white people, hates Israel, and this is the Democrat Party. I can't even remember. Are you a Democrat? What's your deal?
I've been an independent for 20 years. And listen, I think that this story of what's her acronym now? They all have fancy acronyms. DAC. She's DAC, and we have AOC. This is the future of the Democratic Party. I mean, the loss of Congressman Dan Goldman to Brad Lander, another DSA adherent. This is what we have in New York City. A lot of people that have, putting Lander aside, he has a lot of experience, but the candidate prototype is young, heavily educated, largely wealthy, and completely radical in their politics, radical in their speech, hate speech. We've seen that from a number of candidates, including in some ways from the mayor and from DAC. So this is what the Democratic Party is becoming. It is only going to cause more people to leave the Democratic Party, become independents, switch to Republicans, and it is a terrible long-term strategy in order of good policy. But in any event, that's what young voters, or a lot of young voters, apparently want in New York City. And my hope is that the common sense middle galvanizes and provides an important counterweight to this narrative, because there are a lot of New Yorkers like you, like me, that just want good policy, just want the government to do its job, stay in its lane, and let the private sector become prosperous, make more jobs, make things more affordable without having the yoke of the government around our necks.
Well, galvanized lately, galvanized to move. I don't, voter turnout yesterday or the day before was pretty low. And in part because it's the last day of school. I think they want to keep it low on purpose. It is kind of almost amusing to watch Democrats squirm as they figure out how to kind of accommodate these people without antagonizing them. You know what I mean? Hakeem Jeffries, he's being held hostage, it seems like, by these guys. It's a wreck. It's a wreck. Have you met Mamdani?
Yeah, and when I was running for mayor, I met him a couple times. We were at a couple of mayoral forums together.
Is he tall?
I know that he is taller than me, but I'm not the tallest guy in the world. So I'm guessing he's around 5'10", 5'11", I think. That's
I don't know.
my guess.
It's sometimes because this guy's so unimpressive to me. People say, "Oh, he's great, he's this, he's that." I don't see it. I don't see it. Tell us a little bit about your in terms of the charisma department. Everybody says he's charismatic. I find him nauseating. What's the name of your group? You're waging these lawsuits, and how can we support you when you do those things?
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. It's called NYC Common Sense. We've already raised more than $2 million at this stage. It's been a really interesting, a lot of fun. I mean, obviously for me, it's a part-time gig because I have a full-time job, as you know, but it's a labor of love. And we're really kind of focused on good policy and bringing people together who are, who want centrism and moderation, and whether it's on the right or the left, don't want the extremes to control our future. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of really smart people, young people contributing to this. And, within the next couple of weeks, we've already raised a lot of money, but we're going to have a donation button on our website, which is www.nyccommonsense.com. You can find some of our exploits there, including a link to the lawsuit that we filed today to restore common sense through the Tisch policy about criminalization of e-bike recklessness, and contribute if you want to contribute.
When did she write that op-ed?
It was April of 2025.
You see, this is the problem with her. She is not running that department. She's not. And the rumor is she's out. I find her to be very weak and in way over her head. And she's given this guy power over her life. And I'm told she's not happy. She never should have taken that job in my book. But here we are. Hey, one other thing, Jim, I wanted to run by you, okay? I looked it up in the Constitution. It says explicitly the following line under Article 2. This is the president's job. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. I always wanted, we've talked a little bit about this before, but do you know that guy Preet Bharara, whatever his name, the former U.S. attorney?
I do know Preet. Yes, I do.
So, when Preet was so freaked out when the president called him, although he really wasn't freaked out, he had two conversations with him that were like fine. And then the third phone call, he thinks he's going to get fired, so he refuses to take the call and then starts making all kinds of noise about how that's inappropriate. According to the Constitution, it's not inappropriate for the president to call anybody he wants in the executive branch. It's his job to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And if he's under the suspicion that whether it's Jim Comey or Preet or somebody else isn't doing the job, there's no reason in the world why he shouldn't pick up the phone and square them away. That's what the Constitution says.
Yeah, so this gets into a really interesting issue. And listen, for a long time, Republicans and Democratic presidents abided a principle of independence for the Department of Justice. And I fundamentally believe in that because there's so many countries where whoever the president or the prime minister is weaponizes law enforcement to go after political rivals. And we've seen Democrats do it. We've seen Republicans do it. It's a terrible idea. So I think that Preet Bharara's concern there, and I haven't spoken to him about it, so what the hell do I know? But his concern was the independence of the Justice Department. And frankly, under both the Biden and the Trump administrations, as I think you know, I've been a critic in that regard. I think that a lot of really smart people put over 100 years in making sure the Department of Justice was insulated, even though the Constitution gives the president the power. You are right. It doesn't mean that the president should exercise every bit of power that's there. So
that's where I got like the norms and the practices. And when they say, well, we're supposed to be independent. So, I mean, who the hell are they answerable to? We elected the president. This is the big thing that a lot of people miss. The president gets elected. That's why you have a national election. That's why it's important. That's why you care, because he gets enormous power. And every time I turn around I hear somebody in the establishment, somebody in the swamp, trying to illegalize essentially perfectly constitutional activities, or worse than illegalize almost. It's in violation of our norms. It's in violation of our norms. Listen, you and I may never...
Greg,
what?
Well, let me just say one thing. I understand your point. I'm not saying that you're wrong as a constitutional matter. I'm just saying that when judges, at the end of the day, you ask me, who is the DOJ answerable to? The answer is judges, and there are prosecutors across the country that rely on the cloak of independence, so that when they have skeptical judges saying, why are you doing this? They can say, listen, we are independent of the president. And that independence has served DOJ really well. That's why so many prosecutorial cases kind of go in like they're on third base, because judges have confidence. When the judges think that the White House administration's Democrat or Republican are reaching into the Department of Justice in order to play politics, that's when judges start throwing out cases. And so it's one of those things where, yes, you can have it the way that you're articulating it, and that is, arguably constitutional, but there's a lot of collateral damage to that you won't see, because it's built into a system that's served us pretty well for all these years.
Actually, it's all post-Watergate, and these judges have taken it upon themselves to far exceed their authority. And you said something very interesting, and I totally respect you, but, we don't want politics. We don't want politics playing a role. It's fascinating to me how the establishment, how the deep state, how the media, and sometimes even Republicans have demonized the word politics, as if everything in government, we must design it to expunge politics from the system, as if politics corrupts, and corrupts absolutely. Politics is like the language of democracy, somebody once said. This is how we do things. And if you don't like politics, you don't like America. And it's fascinating to me how they have it seems wholesome when you say that, well, we got to get rid of politics and we have to have independence. No. I mean, everybody has a boss, right? And the American people are the boss.
Do you think the Supreme Court should be political? I mean, the Supreme Court gets its authority from the public by staying out of the political fray. The Justice Department is very much the same. And so, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. Obviously, I'm a participant in the political process. I love it. But when it comes to judicial and law enforcement functions, it's just served us very well. We can all disagree about it, but it served us very well to have independence. That's all.
It's not serving us very well when a president of the United States has his home raided, when they arrest a president of the United States 3 or 4 times, right? I mean, this is not serving us well, and we got to go back to the Constitution. It says it in black and white right in there. But hey, Jim Walden, you are amazing. Seriously. Give us that website one more time.
You are too, Greg. www.nyccommonsense.com. Thanks,
NYCCommonsense.com. You bet, sir. You bet. All the best. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I love it when you go to the source. You go to the source, the Constitution, and a lot of people are betting that you won't. This thing was written so that we could all understand it, and it's very, very understandable. The laws that Congress comes up with, it's the opposite. They write them in the most convoluted, over-the-top, abstract, esoteric, whatever, complicated, wordy way, so that you need specialized people. You need lawmakers, or worse, lobbyists, right? Jurists. They're the only ones. They're the only ones. It's a way they protect the system. It's also the way they talk sometimes. It's not meant to inform. It's not meant to explain. It's actually meant to exclude. To make people feel like, oh, maybe inferior, maybe not worthy, maybe this is for smarter people. Nope, it's for you. That's a trick. And one of the reasons why they use that trick is they're actually afraid of us. They're afraid of the people. And they literally sometimes are. or at least intimidated by regular people. You know, some of these people have like these weirdo kind of self-conscious about their status and, you know, maybe not serving in the whatever. They're weak. They're weak. And when they find a person from the real world, most of them can't handle it. Most of them. And if a person from the real world happens to be a person of color, oh my goodness gracious, watch out. They will fold. How do you think we got the crazy Black Lives Matter nonsense? Because elite liberals, black, white, red, brown, they can't handle it. They cannot. And they give up right away. Common sense, all of it goes for, it's like they're children. They're so weak and malleable. But in a large swath of the country, those days are over. Now it's on the merits, the quality of your ideas, not the pigmentation of your epidermis. Your epidermis is showing. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?